No.
So.
These things happen. Go ahead. Begin!
Greetings and welcome to Spin Yarn Live, the Tea Time Book Club and Crafting Circle, which we will start momentarily.
I'm right here. Calm down.
So we are doing the fourth book in the HItchhikers Trilogy, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish.
So long and thanks for all the fish. I don't know the
That
rest.
was an odd song.
I don't know the rest of the song.
But let's get started with crafting updates. You can interact with the stream by going to Twitter at #YarnItAll or Reddit at r/SpinAYarnLive, or if you're my mom, you can text me. And what are you crafting today?
I'm just crafting a simple scarf. It's just a garter stitch. Whoop, scarf. Just stabbed myself in the head.
Good job.
Yeah, just a simple little scarf I'm going to put on my Etsy shop.
And I'm doing, same as always, using my needle minders, which are kind of working. Kind of.
They're cute with their little magnets and their little...
They're cute.
Their little things.
Got turned around. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, and what tea are we drinking today?
So, today we're picking some tea from my Disney Wonderland tea set. It's part of the official unbirthday tea. This is a black tea with pomegranate flavoring in it. So let's give it a try, shall we?
Alrighty. Alright, well, quick intro. So yes, HItchhikers Trilogy.
So this one was a little weird.
Yeah. We take place completely on Earth this time. Well, for the most part. We see some of what Ford is up to off planet.
Yes, we do.
But for the most part, it's Arthur's story on living on Earth again.
Yeah. Yeah, Arthur's story. So in the prologue, you might have noticed it actually says, let me grab this real quick. It actually says in the prologue at the very end of it, far out, blah, 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 orbiting the planet, blah, blah, blah. There's a girl who figures out, like, the solution to everybody's problem. And it says, the very last line in the prologue, it says, this is her story. Okay, we don't actually see her until, like, chapter 11 or something. She doesn't actually show up.
And even then, she's, like, in a coma or asleep or something. Or
what? No, she's not. She meets up with Arthur.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
the first time we meet her is...
Yeah, she is knocked out. Her brother has her sedated because she kind of, like, does crazy talk stuff every once in a while.
And she floats half-inch above the ground.
Well, and no one else really knows that until she points it out to Arthur, and Arthur's like, oh, I think you can do what I can do, because he's figured out the trick to falling and just forgetting to hit the ground. So he's figured out that trick, which is kind of cool. I do like the continuity of that, how this seems to be something that he can do pretty much on command from now on, so that's kind of neat. I did actually put in my notes early on this Rob McKenna guy and how apparently he's the rain god, and I put a little note in there saying how much you want to bet we never see him again. Well, joke's on me. He actually does show up intermittently throughout the book, throughout the story. So I was like, all right, fine. I'm wrong on that one. I'd lose the bet. Then we jumped to Ford for a while. I have my first couple notes are just my ramblings of where is this supposed girl that we're gonna focus on for this story, which we don't. It's not her story. It's still very much Arthur's story. She just happens to come into his story. So, reading through Arthur, it's kind of interesting. Arthur in this book reminds me a lot of Charlie from A Dirty Job, from Christopher Moore's A Dirty Job, and that he has this, I guess, sort of beta male motif in that he very much goes with the flow. Like, at the beginning, even at the beginning when everything was so new and weird to him, he just sort of went with the flow, which is an interesting thing to do, but like, it's just, now it's just kind of boring. Like, he's our main character, and nothing interesting ever seems to happen to him because he's never interested in the things that happen to him until we meet Fenchurch, and all he's really obsessed with is going to bed with her. Yeah. And it's like, that's an interest that you can have, I suppose. He makes a dream, he can still fly. Let's see, yeah, this is not her story. So Arthur just really wants to sleep with her. Like, there's really nothing else. Like, I guess there's the idea of the love at first sight. He feels this immediate attraction to her, because while it's kind of weird and uncomfortable, from my perspective, to be reading his obsession about her, like, they do seem to make a very good couple. Because they're both kind of awkward, nothing really surprises them, and they're just sort of dull English people, I guess. Because they work well as a couple.
They do.
So, fine.
Even though
I suppose
his initial obsession with her started when she wasn't even conscious, and she was the very first human he's seen in many years.
Yeah, the very first, I guess, female human that
female human
he's seen. But, I suppose is fine. He does say he's been off-world for 8 years. But yet, this Earth that he's come across, not that he hasn't time-traveled before, but the Earth that he's come across shouldn't be there. Should be destroyed, you know. But everybody hallucinated the Vogon ships coming to destroy them, and then they just sort of winked out of existence. So everyone's like, oh, it's a hallucination brought on by something. It was just a worldwide hallucination, with which already you're like, that's not really something that happens. Like, there is such thing as group hallucinations, but you gotta be at the right place at the right time in order for stuff like that to happen. Like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, you know. Who knows what he gassed the kids with when they first went in, but, you know. So there's that. Let's see. Yes, why does the book lie? Even when Fenchurch enters into the story, it's still Arthur's story. Rob, the rain god's brother, lives in Seattle. Isn't that funny? It's not. Arthur gets an Apple computer. I found it was odd that Douglas Adams actually mentioned Macintosh computers. He doesn't say Macintosh, he does say Apple, but Apple are the, you know. So I was like, okay, odd product placement, I guess. It's only been mentioned the once. Oh, okay, here we go. So Arthur, you know, Fenchurch gave him her number. But he gave the raffle ticket, because the number was written on the back of the raffle ticket. And he turned in the raffle ticket so he could get his prize, which was a bunch of Scottish bagpipe CDs, which in English and the Scottish don't get along. It's funny. So with the computer, he decides he wants to find the cave that he lived in for like 2 or 3 years when he was on prehistoric Earth. And he finds where he's pretty much sure, like the book says this is in fact the exact spot. But, you know, from his perspective, he's like, I'm pretty sure I think this is where it was. And obviously, you know, it's in the middle of London somewhere, so obviously the cave isn't there anymore, but he decided to go and knock on the door and, you know, just be like, oh, you know, I used to live here, or whatever he was going to say. But it's Fenchurch's door. Yep. So I put in my little comments, I'm like, okay, you guys, we went from science fiction to science fantasy, and now we're just kind of straight up in fantasy. Because he can fly, we get all of these, you know, oh my gosh, coincidences.
And this time, the best you can make of it is, like from the first book, all the coincidences happen because of
the ship,
the infinite improbability drive.
Right.
And, I mean, the best you can make of it is that maybe Arthur has been so inundated and exposed to the infinite improbability drive that now, like, his life is one big coincidence, but it's still a little weird.
It's still a little weird because, like I said, we've really gone from science fiction / fantasy to straight up fantasy, in my opinion. There's not a lot of science-y stuff going on in this episode, even when we cut back to Ford every once in a while. Yeah. And even the very end, when they're going to go see the message left by the creators, by God to his creation or whatever. Even the way they're talking about they have to walk, it's like one does not simply walk into Mordor kind of thing. They've got to walk all this way. Oh no, you can't have a little scooter because the scooters that's only for
the faithful or something.
Right, or the devotional or whatever it is.
Yeah, the devoted.
I don't even know. Okay, I did find the little story that Arthur told about the biscuits. That was pretty funny. I liked that. How he thought that those were his biscuits, when in fact his biscuits were underneath the paper that he bought. So it's kind of like the poor guy sitting across from him. How must he feel when Arthur...
And that's what always bothered me about that story, because I'm so empathic that, like, that story always was super uncomfortable to me. It's like, that's such a very uncomfortable situation that's hard for me to find the humor in it.
Yeah. And there's this weird section, like right before Fenchurch and Arthur have sex, when they're off flying about. Like in this story, Douglas Adams is talking about how if you've ever wondered if this guy has ever actually had sex, and I'm like, you know what? Oddly enough, no. I haven't ever wondered if Arthur has slept with anybody. That wasn't really something that was interesting to me as part of the story. And yet there's this whole little section devoted to, well, if you're interested and want to know, then here you go. But if you're not interested, you can just skip forward to whatever. And I was sorely tempted. But at the same time, I was like, well, but it's supposed to be her story, right? Liar. Let's see. Yeah, not something I ever wondered about. Thanks for that, Douglas Adams. Oh, okay. I had my little criticisms for their little flying around interlude. At the height that they were going, first of all, they would have asphyxiated and frozen. I have my little thing here. I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to be a romantic, sweet moment, but this is what I mean by it now being fantasy and not science fiction, is that they're flying around like friggin' Peter Pan and just dropping their clothes wherever they may. Yeah. Especially at that height, they would have been freezing. And then, what? They hold on to the wing of a Boeing 757.
Yeah. How did they get moving that fast? That's
seriously? If they weren't, how'd they catch it? They couldn't have caught it because they would have broken all of their limbs, or at least torn their arms out of their sockets or whatever. And then this woman from Boston who's just entertained, William Shatner in the Twilight Zone episode, what's that thing on the wing? But
I have not seen this, but it sounds hilarious now.
It's a little gremlin that's like taking the wing apart, and he's the only one who seems to be able to see it, and he's freaking out. It's Twilight Zone.
Little gremlin?
Yeah.
Taking a plane apart.
Right, except it's dressed like a bear. I don't know. It's weird. The Simpsons did an episode on it. Trick or Treat House of Horrors thing.
Seabold?
I don't know. Seabold.
Mercy Thompson joke, for those who don't know yet. We will cover that one day.
We will cover Mercy Thompson.
One day, once we finish Dresden.
Right. But, oh God.
Or Myth, whichever one we finish first.
We're gonna finish Myth first, because there's more of Dresden than there is of Myth, I thought.
I don't know. I think it'll be pretty close.
But any hoozle.
Hoozle?
Yeah, any hoozle. So, yes, they have sex while, I guess, clinging to a plane that's traveling at however fast, a commercial jet travels, which, so, again, they would have frozen and probably would have asphyxiated. Not having any science. Oh, okay, chapter 29. It's like 3 sentences long. Why is it there?
I actually kind of liked that one. So
really?
That was the one that was the plane announcement for, this flight is...
It's going to California.
And if your travel plans do not include California, maybe you should get off now.
Maybe you should get off. But it's like, I guess it's kind of funny, but like at this point I was getting a little annoyed.
Yeah.
I have to admit, like, as much as there's nothing there for you to eat, little one. Hi, little precious. I just became... I've become a little bit annoyed with Douglas Adams. So, yeah, chapter 29 was in no way interesting to me. I didn't see why that had to... Get your tail out of my teeth.
There was just interesting... Or just a quick little transition, so... Instead of just immediately jumping to Los Angeles, which, you know, he's done before, there's just a little interlude to be like, hey, by the way,
yeah, but it didn't need a whole paragraph or a whole chapter for itself, because that chapter that does not make. But anyway, you should drink your tea, otherwise it's going to get cold. I did actually find. Yeah, I know.
You have a little kitty.
I know I do. I did actually find. The way that he described the sandpipers and the way they're moving across the beach, that was actually pretty funny. I liked that. And very accurate. I was like, that is exactly the way sandpipers...
Oh, we have a kitty again. Ghost is out there.
Cyrus, your friend is outside. Where is he? I don't see him.
Right over here. Oh, gone now. You can't see him anymore. Anyways.
Ghost! Ghost! Come back. Did he come back?
No.
Oh, okay. But anyway, okay, so... Oh, but I did really like chapter 32. Because it's like, it reads like a poem.
Oh, so yeah, after they already get to the Inside Out house. Or the asylum.
That was hard. Like, the way he described it, it was a little hard to visualize. He described it like an M.C. Escher painting. And I was like, okay, I kind of get it. But it was a little difficult to visualize.
Yeah.
For me.
Because he just put the whole rest of the world into an asylum.
Right. It's like... I mean, I get it. I get the joke.
Yeah.
But visualizing the house was...
Well, yes.
Tricksy.
And then he also had a bowl. He, Fenchurch, and Author all got these crystal bowls.
But here's the thing. It seems like... Because when Arthur looked at his, it just says, so long and thanks. The guy, what's his name?
Who was
the sane person?
Who was studying dolphin language.
Right, it says so long and thanks for all the fish. So his actually
and we don't know what Fenchurch says.
True. But yeah, they were all very much surprised.
No. Kitty's gone. You have to live with this kitty.
Oh, but I love this kitty.
No.
He's a good kitty. I don't even know if you guys can see him. Because of the lighting, and he's black, and my sweatshirt's black, and there, you can kind of see his face now. There. Stop headbutting me. There, see, you can see him. So, but I did like chapter 32. It read like a poem. It read like something from Wonderland, and
it also described why we have the Earth back.
I can't remember.
It's because the dolphins found another Earth in a close parallel dimension and dragged that one over into our universe. Well, into Arthur's universe.
Oh. But there are no dolphins left on the planet.
No, the dolphins are in their new home, a new planet.
Right. It's chapter 32. Some chapters are longer than others.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Because it describes like what you hear when you hold the bowl to your ears.
Yeah, and the break of waves on farther shores than thought can find.
The finding of a shadow Earth.
Oh. A world indescribably found, indescribably arrived at, and indescribably wet was where the dolphins went to.
Right.
And then...
The fling of hope, the finding of a shadow Earth, and the implications of enfolded time, submerged dimensions, the pull of parallels, the deep pull, the spin of will, the hurt and...
The hurl and split of it.
Hurl and split of it, the fight. A new Earth pulled into replacement, the dolphins gone.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's why the Earth
is there. A single voice, quite clear. This bowl was brought to you by the campaign to save the humans.
Yes. Farewell.
We bid you farewell. Yeah.
Yeah, we bid you farewell. So long. Thanks for all the fish. So, which is... So in that, so I really liked that. I thought it was very poetic. I thought it was funny. You know, I really liked the feel of it.
It was kind of back to Hitchhiker's form where it's kind of surreal. It has a lot of techno babble, but in that kind of surreal sort of way. You're stuck.
But I don't. Would you pour me some more tea?
No.
Easy. Don't break things.
Oh, new message. Your sweatshirt looks purple. Well, it's a black and blue stripe.
It's a black and gray stripe.
Black and gray stripe. And they can see Osiris just fine.
Oh, okay, good. Ah.
What?
Oh my god, you're spilling it everywhere.
Well.
There you go.
Oh.
Okay. There you go. So you can't be hesitant with it. You've got to just pour it out nice and fast. Otherwise it dribbles.
Okay,
dribble.
That seems to be the last of it. Should I blow out the candle?
Yes, please.
You'd think I learned this after my, 1 year birthday. There we go.
Emphysema test. Can I have my teacup?
No.
Go. Okay. So, loved it. There's a very small Star Trek reference in there where they talk about the 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds and blah, 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 blah. I thought that was kind of cute. I was like, all right. Referencing something that probably took its... Well, no. You took your inspiration from that because Star Trek existed way before you wrote these books. So.
Yeah.
The books were written in the 70s, and of course Star Trek started in the late 60s. Okay, I had a quick thought. So when Arthur... So it's been 8 months, apparently, that Arthur's been gone. So I guess he calls up... I guess he works at the BBC. And he calls up and he's like, yeah, I've been gone. And they're like, oh, it's fine. And he goes, oh, I'll be back to work in, like, the spring.
Yeah.
And they're totally cool with it. And I'm like, okay, first of all, no. Second of all, like, how... If he's not coming back to work, why are they giving him money? Like, how does he have the money to travel to California, to just, have sex in the air... and just do whatever.
I mean, it could just be savings. We don't really know what his financial situation is before.
This ghost out there? Osiris is looking at something.
I don't see anything.
He's interested in something. My tea.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Pana.
See you over here.
What do you see?
Oh, there's Ghost. All the way up by the fence.
Oh.
Yep. There he is.
Headed towards the basketball court.
Yep.
Oh.
There goes Osiris.
Right, well, there goes Osiris.
Go say hi to.
Now, my question is, we mentioned in the first book at some point what Arthur actually did.
I doubt I have that written down.
No. He worked in a local radio, which he always used to tell his friends was a lot more interesting than they probably thought.
Yeah, he works for... Yeah, I vaguely remember this now.
So yeah, we don't know what he did, because I was thinking it would kind of make sense if he was kind of like Ford, being kind of a journalist going out to get stories. And, if you just disappear for 8 months, you could be like, getting a story together in a place that you can't really contact home base again. I don't know how the BBC or anything works. But I could see it being similar to how the Hitchhikers guide works, where they just send out people and they get articles in.
Yeah.
And when they get articles in, they pay them or something. So I thought it might be something like that, but he works in local radio. And if he was that, I feel like he would be much more investigative.
Right, which he's not. He's just sort of like Charlie.
Yeah.
Just not really doing anything. I mean, maybe... maybe Christopher Moore based Charlie off of Arthur,
could be.
Who's to say?
I mean, with Dirty Job, he definitely pushes that. He pushes the idea of what a beta male is a lot more.
Right.
Because Arthur, I wouldn't say necessarily fits Christopher Moore's definition of a beta male.
Possibly not.
Because he just doesn't seem smart enough.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's just kind of a person who exists. So my troubles with the candle, my mom decided to share with the world that I spread cake all over the table when I blew out candles on my first birthday.
Well, that's your first birthday. Come on.
I've had lots of practice since then. I only spread it on half the table now.
Yes. My niece didn't know what to do with the cake when it was put in front of her. She was confused. And at first she was just squishing it through her fingers because it felt weird. Because, like, my brother and his wife wouldn't let her eat sweets anyway. So she was just kind of smushing it, and finally my brother put a little bit of the cake in her mouth, and she was like, "Oh, I see," and then she went at it. And that was super cute.
My phone just died.
So anyway, so I like the message that God left to his creation of we apologize for the inconvenience. I thought that was pretty funny.
That whole, there was a lot weird with the walking with that. Hold on a second, you keep talking.
Paul's going upstairs to grab his charger because his phone decided to crap out on him. Anyway, so yeah, I really liked... It's not the final chapter. It's the second to last chapter. But we get to see Marvin again, and, you know, it's kind of hard because it's like he's clearly lived a lot longer than he was supposed to. And he's nearing the end of his run cycle. And so this is unfortunate.
Did you mention how long he lived for? Because he lived, I think they said, like, 13 times the length of the age of the universe.
Of the universe, yeah, because he's time traveled and done a bunch of stuff.
And kept getting left in the past.
Yeah.
And, you know, I really don't see any reason to disbelieve Marvin. Because he's generally... doesn't exaggerate. He's kind of robotic like that.
Mm-hmm. I am now 37 times older than the universe itself.
Okay, so not the total age of the universe, just the age of the universe up until the Earth got destroyed and then brought back.
Right.
But still, that's a long time.
Yeah.
What's the universe right now? I keep mixing up my universe and my Earth. Is it like 13 billion?
I don't know. So I do like the last part of this. Okay, I said it is the last chapter, and then we get an epilogue. So this is chapter 40. It is the last chapter. And chapter. So Marvin, you know, his eyes are so just going, and it's just not... he can't see anything. He can't even lift himself up, all this stuff. And Fenchurch and Arthur are helping him, and it's actually really nice.
And he's had all of his parts replaced countless times, except that line of diodes down his side that was giving him trouble in the first book.
Always gives him trouble. They're always hurting him just a bit, and he actually says ouch a couple times. So they read him, you know, each letter at a time. We apologize for the inconvenience. And he says, I think I feel good about it. And then he closes his eyes for the very last time.
Yeah.
The lights went out in his eyes for absolutely the very last time.
And, you know, if we ended there and there was no more books, this whole series would basically be kind of Marvin's story.
Yeah, and it would be
as
really,
told
really
from
sweet.
People who don't care about Marvin.
Indeed. But so I really liked that. Like, I was like, aw, he's actually kind of happy, or he kind of feels good about something, and that's it. That was his final thought. Final thought. There's Ghost.
There's Ghost again.
Oh, Cyrus, he's right outside.
Oh my goodness.
Don't you want to be so cute? So I really liked that, and I thought it was very, very sweet. And then we get this bizarre epilogue.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, the final chapter, in my opinion, was a lot like chapter Cyrus. Look, oh, Cyrus, look, it's Ghost. Look, it's Ghost. Don't come to my finger. You're gonna come to my finger. Look at Ghost. I have to let him see Ghost.
The Ghost is running away.
No,
Oh, Ghost is back. He's not allowed on that table. Well, he's now knows that that table belongs his little paws. Hi. Rearrange those words for me.
Yes, I know. He's not. This was a kitchen table we had in the kitchen. It was our breakfast table, but now it's going to be our gaming table.
And
yeah, he's not allowed up there. All right.
No, it's too late. You've already taught him he's allowed up there.
Nope.
Yep.
I know. I'm a horrible person. I'm just gonna bring him here. You guys can all look at his little belly.
Oh, his little smiley face.
This is his little belly. Oop. So anyway, yeah. So the final chapter seemed a little pointless because it didn't really even talk about any of our characters. And then even the chapter at the very end is like, okay, I forgot the point. You know, like, I completely forgot the point of why I was even telling this story. So actually, so long, thanks for all those fish.
There's the epilogue.
There's no point to this story, but temporarily... There was a point to this story, but it has temporarily escaped the chronicler's mind. The end! You're just like... It's one page! It's one page that I don't even really get. I'm like, I don't understand. It's this dude who was asked to... you know, develop a weapon or a way for the people to defend themselves against whatever was coming to get them, and all he really did was figure out how to
get an off switch for children and
an off switch for children.
And what was the other one? Oh, a device that would let or genetically improved flies that could find their own way out a half open window.
Right, so they'd actually go out the window and not just dink up against, you know, the rest of the... And it's just like... Okay, what was the point of the story? Well, I don't remember. It's like the end of Sword Art Online, the non-abridged version, i.e. the bad version, where at the very end they're like, well, why did you do this? Why did you trap everybody in this MMO? And people were literally dying and couldn't get out, and everyone's malnourished and blah, 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 blah. And the creator's like, you know what? I can't remember. And you're just like, that is not acceptable. You know? Even the people who did the abridged version were like, yeah, that's really dumb. And they made fun of it. They were like, you can't say that. Don't be ridiculous. And they actually came up with a pretty plausible reason as to why this would happen.
The fans who made the abridged version.
Right, yeah. The fans who made it. So, yeah. So, my overall thoughts, let's see here. I know... Okay, so yeah, I was saying the chapter seems pretty pointless. And I know that half of it is pointless anyway, because it's supposed to be like kind of a comedy thing. But it really doesn't contribute to the story or add anything. You know, to Marvin finally dying and... Don't jump up on the table. Oh, that was really cute. He's looking at leaves.
Oh.
He's looking at leaves.
Oh, no.
Good boy. Oh, he didn't get up on the...
What is that trot?
Oh, no!
So we've covered the window so there's not this horrible glare on this side. And now he has a curtain outside of his perch and he can't look at... Oh, my goodness. If you all could see what we could see.
Osiris, get in your lower bucket.
You know, we need to get like a second camera.
And just have it pointed at Osiris.
And have it pointed over there.
Can flip back
so that, yeah, at points we could just flip it on and be like, point.
Yeah, so... So anyway... You know, the first books were kind of new and interesting, even though Arthur didn't seem terribly interested in the things that were happening to him. And, you know, I didn't really like Zaphod. I thought he, you know, he's not, I don't think, supposed to be a likable character. But, you know, he and Trillian just sort of fall away from the story because it's Arthur's story. The only reason we kept cutting back to Ford was because he was getting back to Earth, having now discovered that all of the original stuff that he had written about Earth, like all of this touristy type things, you know, what you can do when you're in Manhattan, what you can do when you're in LA, you know, all this kind of stuff, suddenly was there, you know, because the editors were like, well, from all of this we can conjecture that Earth is in fact mostly harmless, and then the Earth gets destroyed. So with the update, it was supposed to just wipe the data because, well, the Earth's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But when the update comes along, all of his original stuff that he wrote, which was like 40 some odd pages or something like that, all came into the update. And he's like, why? And so he goes to figure out, oh my gosh, the Earth is still there, so he wants to go and see if Arthur is still there, and he is. And then he meets with Fenchurch, and he's like, what happened to Trillian? I thought you guys were together. And Arthur's like, no, we never slept together. And I'm like, I really don't care. So it was just, it's the increasingly misnamed Hitchhikers Trilogy, which is true. There are 5 books in all. And we just covered the 5th one. And then there's the 4th one. And we just covered... there's a short story in between this one and the 6th one, which is called Mostly Harmless, which is like Zaphod's story?
Yeah, it's young Zaphod plays it safe. So it was when Zaphod and Ford are dying, and they just kind of... let's see. Hold on a second.
You want to find out how many pages it is?
Yeah, because I don't think we're going to review it on the channel. We might just... because it is that wide. So it is literally just a small little aside story. Like what you would get as a chapter or 2 elsewhere just by its own thing.
Yeah.
And it's basically Zaphod hops on a civil ship or whatnot, does something, impresses the captain, and then he is found as being a cool guy. Yay. But then the next one is Mostly Harmless,
which is the final book.
So the first book I think is my...
Well, let's not dissect the whole series until we finish it.
That's true. But I do like Mostly Harmless. It does have some of the problems as this one just had.
I like the ending. I remember the ending, and I really like the ending.
Oh, I don't remember that.
The ending is pretty friggin' funny. I mean, the only person who's laughing is Ford by the end of it, but I think it's pretty hilarious, too. I'm not going to spoil it for you.
But, yeah, no, I like it. There's pieces of it that I really like.
Yeah. But the thing about So Long and Thanks for All the Fish is that we already knew from the first book or the second book, we already knew that the dolphins... The first book. We already knew that the dolphins had left and that they were trying to say so long and thanks for all the
And they were the second most intelligent species on Earth after the mice.
Behind mice, yeah. So there's already the title drop for the 4th book in the first book, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. And so if you're a fan of this series and you read the first 3 books and then you found out a 4th book was coming out and it was called So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, given the nature of these books, you would kind of almost think, oh, maybe this has to do with the dolphins. This has something to do with the story about the dolphins. Maybe Ford or one of the other guys will show up randomly for whatever reason. But no. The book straight up says this is the story of the woman who discovered the way that humans could all get along, everybody could be happy and all this stuff, only to have the Earth destroyed before she could tell anyone.
And then brought back from parallel dimension without that knowledge.
Right, and then all of a sudden, she can't remember what it is. And the epilogue's like, this is her story. And I'm like, bullshit. This is not her story. This is Arthur's story. And she just happens to be the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's not even that interesting. I mean, it's interesting that I guess because she always has this, overwhelming feeling of, well, there's something going on. I guess the idea is that she constantly forgets to walk, or she constantly forgets that she's supposed to have a connection to the Earth, or something like that. It's not really explained, I don't think, why it is that she constantly flies. Because she can never touch the Earth. She never does.
Yeah.
In fact, one time Arthur says something to the effect of, as sure as we're sitting on the ground, something, and she shifts uncomfortably because, well, she's not sitting on the ground.
Actually, one thing that I thought that was, because because after everybody thought they hallucinated, that's when she started going to, I think, the doctors and whatnot, psychologists or whatnot. But, so I think when the other Earth shifted back in, she did not shift properly and was shifted a little bit above. Is how I interpret it. It never actually says anything to that effect, but...
Well, Arthur has this weird dream sequence where
he's a tree.
Well,
and then that's where it begins.
But he's also...
And then it gets weird.
But he's also, like, feeling the connection to the Earth, and then he can feel everybody, and then there's, like, a glitch, almost. Yeah. And he keeps trying to focus on the glitch, only to find that he can't.
And at first we think it's Fenchurch's mental state.
Right.
But, yeah, I think it's because she's out of phase a little bit. Yeah,
she doesn't quite belong, which is, I guess, why, he doesn't want to leave Earth again. He finds it perfectly comfortable, thank you very much. But she wants to leave because she knows in her heart of hearts she really doesn't belong here.
Yeah.
This isn't the actual Earth where she's supposed to be. So there's that. But again, and that would make for a very interesting story to delve into her psychosis and see what's going on with that and how she feels about it and blah, 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 blah. It would be very interesting if we could experience this from her point of view and make it actually her story.
Yeah.
And, oh, look, Arthur is here too. Oh, look, Ford showed up as well. Well, this is great. We already know about who these characters are, so how do they interact with this new character? But no! We don't do that. We don't have time for silliness like that. We're not going to have a female be the main character. In a science fiction, fantasy book. No, sir. So we're just going to keep focusing on Arthur, who's totally, completely boring and nobody really cares about. But, Ford is sort of kind of interesting, maybe, but not really. He'll only be interesting when they cast him extraordinarily well in the 2000 whatever movie that they came out with. Breath. So, it's not my favorite. And as much as, because I remember really enjoying the books in 7th grade or whenever I read them the first time. But, now that I'm a little bit older and I've read a lot more other things, including things that are written by women or have strong female characters, it's annoying to say the least to read books like this.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not really looking forward to our next book, which is Mythic Connections or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's right here. Myth Inc. in Action.
Myth Inc. in Action. So, this is our next book that we're going to read. I'm so totally not excited because even Paul said this is not one of his favorites in the series. So I'm like, well, that's already a bad sign.
And basically, this, not to give away spoilers, but to give away spoilers, this one is basically Skeeve alone. And he's just not a good solo character. It's kind of like when Tom Baker as Doctor Who decided that he could carry an entire episode by himself and did, and it was...
And you kind of realize that he's a bit full of himself and not really that great.
He made a good Doctor, but he was also quite full of himself. And yeah, Skeeve just doesn't have it by himself. He needs kind of that wide cast of characters, he's always had. Right,
because even in the last one, where we start off with Oz leaving, and we do very much focus on Skeeve, but because we've got Skeeve needing to figure out all this stuff without Oz, and then, Marge shows up, and then Tananda shows up, and, all these other people, and it actually becomes a pretty cool story. Yeah. And I really liked the previous one, but so
yeah, because we only got like 2, maybe 3 chapters with Skeeve dealing with other people by himself before Masha showed up. Yeah. Stop looking for kitties.
Kitties.
We had a new wild kitty today.
Oh my gosh, he was a tabby. He was a gray and black tabby, and he had big rough, like big old, looked like little chubby cheeks, like Garfield. And really, really pretty. So we saw him outside. He didn't have a collar, and he spooked when he saw me. He was interested in Osiris, like they were kind of staring at each other. But then he saw me and he bolted really, really quick. So, which was kind of weird because he looked awfully well groomed, and he didn't look like he was wanting of food. I say male because he had such scruff around it, because he was a tabby, so short haired like Osiris, but he was so foofy around this area, like male tigers are and lions and stuff, and it's kind of one of the ways you can sometimes differentiate between female and male domestic cats, or I should just say small kitties. Kitties. So I assume it was male, but yeah, he bolted. He ran right away. Even though he and Osiris were having a moment, he interrupted them. But so anyway.
Yes. So next we're going to do Myth Inc. in Action. Now the book after this is, I think, my favorite myth book of all time, and kind of the reason I wanted to add myth to this channel.
Mything persons?
No.
Oh, I thought it was that.
Wait. No, Myth Inc. isn't next. Mything Persons is next.
This isn't next?
No, that's...
Another fine myth. Myth conceptions. Hit or myth. Mything persons. Little Myth Maker. Okay, we haven't read Mything Persons or Little Myth Maker. Myth Inc. in Action looks like it's the last one on this list, which we got Myth Inc. Link, Mythnomers, and Imperfections in Myth Inc. in Action. This is copyright 1990.
Hold on.
We might be out of order.
I will look it up. No, this is the one... Let me see. Nope, that's not it either. Hold on. Everyone hold on.
What did we read last time?
I have no idea. Myth Inc.
I'll have it. Let's see. Sanji, A Dirty Job.
Okay, another fine myth. Myth conceptions, myth directions, hit or myth, and then mything persons, which is this one. No, this one is actually decently good.
And this is the next one.
Then we have Little Myth Marker, which I actually like. Myth Inc. Link, which I don't remember which one that is. And then Mythnomers and Imperfections. Mything, Wait, so what's the... Mythnomers and Imperfections is the one I don't like.
Oh, okay.
And then the one after that, Myth Inc. in Action, is, I believe... Yes. Myth Inc. in Action is the one I really like.
Oh.
This is the one I love.
But this one is next.
Have, 1, 2, 3, 4... Like 4 books to go before the one I really like. Okay, yeah, Mything Persons is next.
This is
not the one I was thinking of.
Okay. Is this where we have to go to Oz's dimension?
No, no, that's Mythnomers and Imperfections. That's the one I don't like.
Oh, I seem to remember liking that one.
Oh, okay, maybe you like. I mean, there have been myth books that you hated that I liked. So we can swap it up once in a while. No, Mything Persons is decently good.
Okay.
We get a brand new dimension, and it's kind of a fun little
apparently magic
mystery.
Doesn't work there.
So anyways, no, this one is good. Yay!
There's hope for this yet. Probably not.
Okay, wow, we're far away. Yeah, because...
They're eating bagels on the cover of this, and now I want a bagel. Ooh, we have leftover pizza.
18, 19, 20, 21.
We don't have 21
How many...
books.
No. How many Dresden books are there so far?
16.
Yeah, so Myth is longer than Dresden at the moment.
What do you mean at the...
Well 20, I should say.
But you can't say at the... He's dead.
Yeah. When Dresden creates more books, it's going to surpass, I think, because...
It says number 5 right there.
It says number 5 right there. But I thought the Mything Person was the one from Misnomers and Imperfections.
Although I think your dad wrote it because
it says B. Helene.
It was written in ink and it says B. Helene here, so. Do you hear that bass?
I do hear that bass. I don't know what it is.
Oh god, the T-Rex from Jurassic Park is coming to kill us all.
Okay, well, we should probably go.
I'm going to sing the song.
No.
Okay. I won't because it's got naughty language.
So yes, that book's pretty good. And then the next book after that is A Wrinkle in Time.
Because the movie is going to come out in March 10th, 9th. That comes out on a Friday. The 10th is a Saturday. So the 9th is when it must come out. But we won't be here. We will not have a show.
Yeah, March 9th.
We'll not have a show on the 10th or the 17th. We will be traveling on those days. So we'll be traveling out west on that Saturday, and then we'll be traveling back over here on the following Saturday. So, just like when we went to England.
Yep.
So we won't be doing that, which was kind of fun, except I got sick. I don't like it.
And it was stormy the whole time.
Yeah, we were on the Queen Mary 2, and I've got sea legs, okay? My dad used to own a sailboat, way back in the day. But yeah, it was really turbulent, and I actually had to get some seasickness pills, which was not free. They charged like $7.
They were very nickel and dimey about everything.
Super nickel and dimey. We probably won't do it again.
Yeah.
Unless we do a Disney cruise, because that'll probably be more fun.
Anyways, so read Missing Persons, order your Wrinkle in Time.
Yes. Wrinkle in Time, it's a quick, if I remember correctly, it's a narrow book. I don't remember the author.
Is Wrinkle in Time on, or, words? I think we looked it up the other time. What's that, the old books. That's not gonna work.
Hi, boy. Osiris, you want to get up on my lap? You're so cute. You're the star of the show, boy.
Okay, Gutenberg. I don't think Wrinkle in Time is on Gutenberg.
Oh, he's a big cat. He's a big cat. And he doesn't.
No, it's not.
Okay, I got it.
So it's still in copyright. Oh.
Got him.
Kitty.
This is my kitty.
So yes, do those two things. That was Hitchhikers. We're not going to deal with Zaphod. If you want to read the Zaphod before you read the Mostly Harmless, you can.
I don't think I will.
But I've never been really impressed with that short story. It exists in this tome, so
yeah,
it's in this tome.
It's an omnibus.
Yeah. Well.
Look, I have a kitty.
Ooh. So, yeah, Mom said, are we going to do all 5 Wrinkle in Time books? We're just going to do the first one. I don't know what the movie covers. No. And we don't know how long they're going to take. So, really, we should order them. I should read them, like, this week. And then next week, we can tell you if we're doing more than just one out. But I don't know if the movie's going to cover more than just the first book.
Yeah, I don't know either. Because when, I used to work at a bookstore, so A Wrinkle in Time was often on the reading list for summer reading, and we only ever had the first book. At least I think it's the first book.
Oh, Amazon has a group of all 5. So, if you're watching this, you can go on Amazon and get the omnibus of all 5 Wrinkle in Time books.
I don't know if it's an omnibus or if it's a set.
Oh.
An omnibus, by definition of, it's Greek or Latin words, is one book that has all the stories in it. Whereas a set, like the Lord of the Rings set that we have a box set that has the 3 books in it, in the box. So. Look at the little kitty. Look at him and his paws.
And I'm seeing nothing online yet about which books.
What'd your mom say?
The movies.
What'd your mom say?
Sure. It's a set.
It's a set. So it's not an omnibus.
So get the set.
Aw, look at his little paws.
But Mom has already ordered 5, so.
Well, there you are then.
We'll probably do the same.
No.
And then we'll let you know next week whether we're going to do all of them, if they're super quick reads, or if we'll only do one of them.
I hope you guys can see what I'm doing with his paws.
It's kind of super cute.
It's adorable.
Okay, so that is us.
That is our episode for this week.
We got some... I got some more shading done in the hair.
I got a couple of rows in. Hard to tell because since I'm doing such a basic pattern, you can't really tell.
Mom's Granny Square Afghan will take many episodes.
Indeed.
Okay, so until next time.
Until next time.
Oh my
Thank
goodness.
you for joining us. Don't let that drop on my phone.
No. Bad. Or the tea.
Osiris says bye-bye.
Bye.